And off we go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another one of these. A little bit of confusion at the beginning there because Tony discovered that he was the funniest man in Europe when he woke up this morning. But we're all finding coping mechanisms for the anger that's surging through our veins. At least the medical supplement sales will be down in the UK because everybody is so energized right now. I was just saying to the guys, I went through the data this morning. There's no point under Postecoglou because it's like producing data for kids chasing a football around, all 60 of them in a playground on their break. There's nothing to be learned. So without further ado, first up onto the bloodletting podium, Chris B. Talk us through it.
I've come to the conclusion that the club is just one massive parody and that our owners and anybody associated with it are trying to take the piss out of us. Because earlier in the week, we had the financial returns where our beloved chairman took great delight in reminding us we should be lucky for investment. And then last night, our alleged coach decides that...
That tea tastes good, Tony, I tell you.
Decides to put his hand to his ear and to belittle his own fans after they called him out for one of his substitutions. So the whole club at the moment is a comedy act. There's no seriousness about it. And if there was seriousness about it, how would they be putting the coach 30 minutes from now in front of the world's media ahead of the game on Sunday when he should have been replaced and removed from the spotlight?
Tony, do you want to share some of your feelings with the group? Do you want to point to the doll in the court and show where Enoch touched you?
Do you know when you get to a stage of anger where actually you just kind of lost for words anymore? You know, you really are just completely and utterly lost for words. Spineless, clueless, just everything less. That is what Ange is now so far out of his depth. He needs scuba gear to breathe. It's ridiculous. I have never seen a club full. I mean, it's not like that we've ever been ripping up trees, but at least under Conte and Mourinho, we were competitive. We had some spirit about us. Whereas we're under him, we have fallen off a cliff. And he's taking us with it. You know, he's basically the lead lemming and he's taking us all with him. And I'm sorry, he's got to go. He's done. His goose is cooked. Stick a fork in him. He's done every other particular adjective or phrase or whatever it is you want to use. Get this sod out of here right now. I'd swear even more than I'm going to swear right now because honestly, I am just so angry and fed up with this clown.
Can I just say though? I mean, I hate to be the voice of reason because first of all, it becomes very unnaturally to me, but. I mean, I'm looking on videos that were posted last night and first thing this morning, and there are people, I presume they're not all trolls, on a massive wind-up saying, sick of this hire him and fire him routine, get behind this guy's a decent man.
No, but he's not, is he?
There's no decency to him. There's no decency to him. There's not a scrap of decency to him.
You look at his press conference after the game last night with the Sky Sports journalists. Yeah, journalists aren't everybody's cup of tea. Yeah, Sky, love them or hate them. But that bloke was being paid to do a job. He was being asked to ask the questions that we all wanted to hear. But, oh my God, how dare you speak to me like that? I'm this great manager. His reaction was pathetic, absolutely pathetic.
Not only was it pathetic, Chris, not only was it pathetic, he lied. He outright lied. Yeah. He outright lied. Oh, I didn't cut my ear. It was because I really want to see if the fans were pleased. Why do you go over, cup your ear, just after you've been told you don't know what you're doing? Everybody knows that is a way of saying, "Are you listening now? Are you listening now?" You know, sort of thing.
Isn't it? You're baiting your own fans, but this is a 59-year-old man behaving like a petulant child. You tell me any elite level manager, maybe Jose would have done it in the past as his manager. But do you think you go get Pep? Do you think you go get Ancelotti? Do you think you go get Klopp? Do you think you go get? You could name 5 or 6 others. No, you wouldn't, because they're masters of their craft. They're elite professionals. This bloke is just, it's just a PE teacher, isn't he? He's an absolute wanker of the highest order.
I thought it was. I mean, I just took chip in with this because, as everybody knows, I'm a staunch defender of success and excellence because I was dropped on my head as a baby. But we mentioned Mourinho and Conte there, and there's still to this day there are fans sitting there waiting, itching to tell us that they didn't like the football. You nasty man. And then if you look at the way that they have conducted themselves, which does have a cut of swagger, a little bit of arrogance to it. And one of my lasting memories of Mourinho was him throwing his medals into the crowd.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know the way other people were brought up. But that's, to me, that is the ultimate in self sacrifice. What more can a man do than show his love and throw his winners medals, not finalist medals, finalist watch, but throw his winning medals into the crowd? And that's basically saying, here's my heart, and just being as open a book as a man can be.
Because that's what winners do, H. That's what winners do.
Yeah, they take it in their stride. They absolutely. Take it in their stride.
Winning is an everyday thing for these guys. Yeah. They expect to win every time they step out on the pitch. Every time they go to a training session, they're expecting to win. Yeah, and that is the mentality that has been lost from this club for God knows how long, apart from those brief interludes when we had Mourinho and Conte, and even Poch to a degree. A part of his, obviously we knew it didn't quite 100%, but even so.
But Bill Nicholson, and Keith Birkinshaw. Those are two guys that knew what they were doing. There have been others, I accept that, but much briefer little glimpses of management wonderfulness. But those guys were heading in the right direction until they were suffocated by Levy. I've got the finance analysis come through this morning, which is a long read, so I'll have to go through it from the Swiss Ramble Substack that I subscribe to. And you look at what Levy's done, and we're back to that same tired conversation about thanks very much for all the financial leverage. You've been an absolute superstar, but everything else you've touched has turned to poo-poo. And it must stop. It needs to stop because it's toxic and it isn't nice and it's unhelpful and it doesn't work and you're just really fucking everybody off.
I don't understand why. Sorry, Chris. I don't understand why he's suddenly become incredibly gun shy. I don't get why he's become gun shy. Or he didn't have a problem with Nuno after 14 games. Bang, you're gone. And even and Nuno, frankly. His results were better than Ange's were. Okay, not in the first 10 games, but since then, if you take the form as a whole, hell of a lot better.
Oh, sorry. No. Nobody's form, just as a point of information here in the court, nobody's form has been as poor as Ange Postecoglou's, which is why we're getting this defence mechanism shite about, well, I've been in the game 67,000 million years, fella. Yet nobody cares, mate. You're terrible.
You are officially the worst Tottenham manager of all time.
Yeah, you're making Tim Sherwood look like somebody you'd want to introduce to your daughter at this point. There isn't a single redeeming feature about you, unless, of course, we need ballast. Has anybody got anything really heavy we can use to hold this balloon down?
Well, it certainly wouldn't be our trophy cabinet, would it?
But the reason, Tony, and I think you were playing to the crowd a bit there, we know the reason that they've not pulled the trigger on this oath. And it's simply because that the moment the trigger is pulled, we're back to that conversation and we're back to that routine again about Levy's stewardship of the club, how many coaches he's had to fire. Because people in the real world, which is, we keep on going back to this conversation on here, because we're all grown-ups and we pay bills and we know the difference between night and day. But the children, the 12-year-olds watching this who go, you're nasty people, why can't you be happy? Why can't you back your team? We know that bad recruiters are one of the biggest causes of chaos on the planet. And this is why, you've got the business with, and here we go into another right-wing rant. But this is why we've got in the States, they're going through the government, getting rid of all the people that should have never been hired in the first place. And they're discovering fraud and deceit and just general incompetence. And if Levy was working for the US government, let me tell you, he'd be putting his stuff in a cardboard box in the next couple of weeks, because you need to rout these people out and throw them onto the street because they just chaos. All they cause is poison. poison and misery. So Levy doesn't want to have the press speculating on how good a CEO he is. We saw that Jack Brook piece last week saying, is whoever from Bournemouth or whatever it is, or Brighton, that the answer, skirting around the not hidden, but the plainly obvious truth that the place has been totally mismanaged. So we need to move somehow, and I don't know how they're going to do it. The change for Tottenham thing, actually, like I did that short video, they acknowledged that ENIC must go, that they must sell up. I think they've had their money, they've had their beak in the food, into the plate, whatever you want to call it, for far too long. They've made their money over and over and over again. Sell up. Don't give me this 4 billion number rubbish and talk about Saudis. Have a duty of care and sell it to football people, because what's going to happen is as soon as they sack this oaf, this charlatan, as soon as they do that, the press is going to be wall to wall. Who's the next Spurs boss? And we saw how uncomfortable that was for Levy last time round. Arne Slot turned him down. Nagelsmann turned him down. Everybody turned him down. You know, even the Spanish waiter from Liverpool, from Merseyside, he turned him down. And that's what Levy is scared of.
But he's failing in his duty as a CEO at the moment, isn't he? His he's got to make the right decisions for the club, but he's being a massive coward, and he's not making that.
He's an enormous coward.
I mean, all the articles in the last 24 hours, Henry Young, the Martin Samuels, and others are all coming out. Yeah, Henry Winter, sorry. And,
Henry Young Winter, the African American.
Yeah. So Henry Winter and all of the others, they're all coming out saying, what have you got to do to get sacked at Tottenham? The relationship between the fans, us, and Postecoglou is gone. You've got that team last night. They had no idea what formation they were playing. They had no idea what their tactics were. He has completely destroyed a doggy beyond belief. That's a player. He looks a fraction of himself. He looks like a rabbit in headlights. Then you go forward. Somebody told me last night we had a £60 million centre forward playing, Dominic Solanke. I didn't see him. We had a front three that was, I'll tell you what they were. It was every inch a championship winger in Odebear. That's what you get when you pay 30 million quid from somebody from the championship. He's not up to it. Not good enough. And then you had Son, who we've spoken time and time about previously. He was anonymous. He started turning on the fans at one point. So you had a front three, which was invisible. You had a team where there was no morale. And that dumb fucking Italian goalkeeper was about as effective.
Massive anus.
Captain as the Costa Concordia. He's a disaster. And he started pointing at Van der Ven, and then Van der Ven was pointing at Romero, and they were like, kick it long. What are you playing across the box for? So there is no leaders on the pitch. The whole thing is a mess. We need to press the reset button and start again.
Good luck and keep it Tottenham, basically.
Yeah, and we'll see you all again. That was 13 minutes, 25 seconds, and we hope you enjoyed the show. But yeah, I mean, it is an absolute disgrace. And I mean, that's an overused phrase in football, and perhaps never more so in relation to Spurs. But the truth of it is that it was a critical error of judgment to hire Postecoglou in the first instance. We know how far down the batting order he was. There's no legitimate reason that he would have been plucked from these tin pot farmers leagues, and all of the nitwits, the nincompoops that we've had to listen to. I mean, we start with Gold My Beer, who gave us yards of insufferable shite about this fat lump. Oh, yeah, and how he did this when he was in Celtic and Yokohama Yacht Club and blah, blah. And we all instinctively knew, it didn't stack up against the Premier League. And I tell you what, I was watching the Arne Slot presser ahead of, they've got Fulham on Sunday at 2:00, I think. And he was talking about the fact that, and unlike Ange, he's not telling you a story. This is based upon his lived experience. And he was saying that in the Premier League, when you have a player come back from injury, they then need a couple of games to find their legs, their match fitness. their in-game fitness, not just how are you feeling? Yeah, I feel good. I think I'm ready to go. You're not, because it's a different plane. It's a different level. And this fat lump, this morbidly obese soap dodger, I mean, he doesn't have a clue. The most intelligent thing I've heard from any Spurs fans in a long time was them singing "You Don't Know What You're Doing." But we've been fed this guano from all of these journalists who all they are interested in is the easy route to the end of the working day. What happy, clappy, upbeat clips can I publish? Oh, yeah, I think he's going to be really good. And Levy surrounded himself with that fan advisory board mob who only tell him that everything's wonderful and Dominic Solanke is amazing. And none of these guys can play football or understand the game. And we wonder why we're having a conversation about Spurs who are now storming into the relegation zone. But we won't get down because the people beneath us are junk.
Well, if it hadn't been for how poor Ipswich, Southampton, and who's the other? Who is it? Ipswich, Southampton. Who's in the bottom three?
Some other Leicester, probably.
Yeah, Leicester. Yeah.
We'd have been in a relegation battle, and with the lack of leaders and energy and motivation and ambition, we'd have been in the Championship next season. And that's not me being excited and talking like a prima donna. It's facts. We're rubbish. We're shit.
Well, let's let that settle in. We've just talked about the 3 relegation teams. We've lost to 2 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Our form is terrible. And I did a thing the other week, this week, on the Substack, with a bullet point list of bad things about this club, which Ange has delivered. And this is his CV. And they're all like, first time ever that we've lost 4 games in a row to Chelsea. First time ever we've been so far down the table. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. But nobody cares because they're all being fed. They're fed on the same diet that Levy surrounds himself with, like I say, with the fan advisory board and all these other clusterfucks around him. Going, oh, it's really exciting. Oh, yes, it's very wonderful having the Formula One track. Blah, 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 blah. They all need to be marched out of the building. I'd march them out naked just to make a fucking point. So the rest of the generations to follow talk about how we cleared drained the swamp. What a great phrase. But just throw them out because they're just toxic, absolutely toxic. And you say there about the relegation teams. The only reason that we are where we are, we're not under any great threat, is because these teams are like sandbags. They're going nowhere. Nobody can shift them. They're just waiting for the trapdoor beneath them to open up, and then those 3 dead bodies will fall out. And that's what's keeping us from the Championship.
There's 2 things from just I want to say in terms of looking at I've found this from the excellent Harlow Globetrotter, a bit of name dropping on Facebook. First 10 league games, our average XG was 2.1. The second 10 league games, it was 1.94. The third 10 league games, average XG was 1.34. In any business, that's a downward curve that basically says someone's getting sacked.
Yeah.
Not at the top. But not at Tottenham. And also, just on, we could talk stats and what have you. We know what's going on. But what really, really, really chuffed me off majorly last night was this rant about VAR. Honestly, we know VAR isn't perfect. I mean, God, that Liverpool-Everton one, how they missed that as a red card, God knows. Honestly, but this rant about VAR, I've never heard such an obvious case of deflection in my life.
That's all it was. Yeah,
it was. Let's take it away from the fact that we played like shit and I'm shit and I haven't got a clue what I'm doing, and we'll start picking on something. Last year, he said I don't talk about referees, and all of a sudden, VAR's all he can fucking talk about. It's ridiculous and it's pathetic. Yes, it took a long time. It was a foul, no doubt about that. We saw it all. Probably most of us saw it on probably the first or second replay. It took a long time because I think they were deciding whether it's going to be a red card or not. Even that, to me, as a referee, was obviously not a red card because it wasn't done with excessive force. So therefore, you can argue that it's not as bad as that. But the point is, yes, it took 6 or 7 minutes, but it was the right decision, regardless of that. And to stand there and have that nonsense about VAR and about how he doesn't like it is just is like a drowning man with a small piece of wood in the middle of the Atlantic, hoping he's going to make it. He's going to make it to shore. I'm sorry, you're done, mate. That is absolute crap. Just face reality. You don't know what you're doing. You're deflecting like crazy, and you're blaming. And he's doing what he's always done, which is blamed everybody else and everything else for his own shortcomings.
What you're forgetting, Tony, is he had almost 3 weeks from our last game to last night to work out what he was going to do differently, get the team up for it. And what's he delivered?
He was too busy talking to Mark Schwarzer on HOTSPUR, wasn't he? That's the whole bloody doing crappy interviews about how great his homespun philosophy is and all that bollocks.
And that's another London derby where they were a poor Chelsea team. They were there for the taking.
100%.
If we'd have had a bit of intent around us and a bit of ambition, you could have got something out of that back four. And their goalkeeper's as shaky as shit. But we absolutely didn't lay a glove on them at all.
Second game in a row where we didn't have a shot on goal in the first half?
Remember that bloke in the summer? We paid a 10 million loan fee for him with about 50, 60 million to make it deal. What was his name? That generational talent from Munich. Was it Mathis Tell? Was it?
Yeah, I think it was January, wasn't it? Yeah, January, wasn't it? The old January window. Yeah.
But don't forget though, he did rally round the gaffer when the gaffer was starting a fight with the Fulham crowd. He's not done nothing. He's not done nothing.
But there's the problem. He started the last 3 games on the bench, isn't he?
Yeah.
So you're bringing in this supposed talent in January. You're fighting all these clubs, doing everything you can to convince him to come into this.
He spent 2 hours begging over the phone like an ex-girlfriend.
And he's getting splinters in his arse as he's spending 270 minutes
watching. How much money did it actually cost to get him? No, because you're saying he took 2 hours of convincing him, but it wasn't just that, was it? It was Levy going over there. It was Lang going over there. All that waste of time spent on a player that's absolute. If he was that good, everybody else in Europe would have been after him. Nobody else was after him.
Rohypnol handcuffs and fake passports come at a cost, Tony. They're not cheap.
Getting the back of the van and running out.
Well, Chris obviously has a man for those things because he knows.
Men.
But it's that the whole thing last night was just what you've mentioned about 3 weeks. Again, there was on that expression, the one you posted in the chat, the guy who does the rants, absolutely brilliant. What did he said on that rant? Coaching, Mourinho, football boots on the pitch, coaching. Conte on the, football boots, is coaching. Ange, nowhere to be seen. So those 3 weeks, he's been too busy basically doing the cult of Ange in his own head. He's a legend was it Dirty Harry said? You're a legend in your own mind.
In your own lunch hour. But
it's just like you said, ridiculous.
He's done the Opta Sports thing where, for those of you joining us late, that's an Australian setup, and they ought to change it from Opta Sports to underarm bowling, because the questions are so gentle that a 3-year-old child with a plastic cricket bat would welcome them. And he wasn't asked anything there, and so that gave him again that great opportunity to go down the memory lane of yarn spinning, which I refer to as the campfire tales, which he was indulged to death by the British media. They were absolutely thrilled that he was giving them time of day. And so, Ange, have you read any good listen to any good podcasts this week? That's right. That's the level of question that this guy wants, because you're not dealing with a grown-up. You're dealing with a guy swanning around, telling everybody how long he's been in this line of employment. He's won nothing of any consequence. He's an arsehole.
Earlier this week, he was courting potential future jobs, and he was saying about, if Pochettino wants to come back to the club, good luck for him. Maybe it will make his dreams come true. I'm sure there's somebody out there that will take a chance on me as I'm a good coach and will think he can come in and deliver stuff. No, they won't, buddy. You have absolutely destroyed your own product. Yeah.
You've set fire. I mean, anybody who I mean, the guy that wrote that book that I presume like 10 people went out and paid cash for, will be the guy that wrote that will be on the phone to the publishers saying, can we get them back like you get books back to pulp? Because having Ange Ball written on anything, it's just a ridiculous thing. You know,
And
it's like what's your claim to fame? I was in the Jewish basketball team. No, you don't lead with that.
I'll tell you else. His reputation in my world, Robbie Williams. I'll never listen to him again. I used to think he was right, but
you look like a Robbie Williams fan, actually. We were doing a photo fit of,
ever since that tune, embraced by the whole of the South Stand and belted around the stadium, he can poke it. I'm never buying any of his albums again.
Well, he's a Stoke fan anyway, for a start, which it tells its own story. But I mean, yeah, it's just that. But this is what gets my goat. This is the stone in my shoe. That that song was so awful. Yeah, real horrible karaoke stuff.
We gobbled it up, and we were
and
all over.
They couldn't wait. But this is the same mob of incel arseholes that like buskers. Oh, I know. I changed the thing in this ABBA song to Kulisevsky or whatever it is. And yeah, that's really got my toes tapping. You've got to throw all of these people out. Throw them out. Throw them out.
Bring back Chaz and Dave. That's what I say.
I want Chaz and Dave back. I want blokes with short hair and big coats on. I want people who are drunk out of their minds. I want policemen on horses. You know, I want it all back. I want
jump us for goalposts.
Jump for goalposts. And if you listen, you turn up without your kit, you'll be doing it in your underpants. There's
concrete pitches. Concrete pitches.
I want to see people going home with bits of them missing.
An obligation to drink Bovril whenever you go in the ground.
Yeah. Toss out all the other shite.
Yeah, Bovril. Not this fancy homebrewed shit. Bovril, real man's drink.
You can have Bovril tea, and we will allow people in with flasks who want to bring their own soup, because we're taking it right back. The revolution will not be televised because we're going to tell Sky Sports they can keep their fucking money.
Yeah, I think. Do you know,
and anybody without a flat cap on, is going to have to answer for themselves.
Bring back pigskin for the footballs.
Yes. If you're a pig, get nervous. We're coming for you.
Tourists are banned from the stadium.
Yeah.
I don't care if you've got a sun lamp at home, mate. We were looking for pasty Englishmen.
Yeah.
And their relatives. Out.
Yeah, whose warm up is smoking 60 fags, a pack of fags before they get out there.
Smoking will be compulsory for everybody over the age of 12. Yeah.
We'll rename the academy the Jimmy Greaves Academy so they can all sit there and go.
And every game, 100 cups of tea will have a complimentary drop of gold watch in them. So you can live like a real person.
And they all share the same bath water, everything. Come on, let's bring it all back. Let's go retro. Let's go the whole hog, shall we?
Rip the showers out and all the private masseurs and foot rub things, and we're going to just have a big bath. And if we win, it's filled with champagne, and if we lose, it's filled with thick and vomit and dead animals and ale.
And you can call it the glory hole.
Right. The only thing that I celebrate, this is how desperate things have become. The only thing I celebrated last night was Romero having a go at Chalobah. I thought that was lovely. Yeah. I thought at least somebody decided I'm sick of this shit.
The only thing I celebrate, Tony, was the final whistle.
I always see the positives, Chris. I always see the positives, and unfortunately, last night I could only see one positive, and it was that. The rest of it was just utter. I sat there and I literally went, "What the fuck is he doing, taking Bergvall off?" Literally, what the fuck?
You don't know what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. It was just insanity. I was sitting there thinking, do I need to take some pills or something? Because I can't believe what I'm actually seeing.
More pills or just more?
Oh, more pills, yeah, because I take enough of them already. I rattle like a fucking box. Honestly.
H was telling me about consuming 15 Viagra last night. That didn't end well. He looked well hard.
Oh, there's a trip. There's a local band that goes around the where I live. They like playing pubs. They're called Stiff in the Morning. I'm wondering, can we have some commentary on that, H? You're on mute, mate.
But he's also thinking about all the editing he's going to have to do.
Yeah. You're still on mute. Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
he's back. He's back in the room.
The editing's the only reason I get involved in these things. So it can be broadcast across the entire nation. Opposed to...
I thought he was on one of those desks that goes up and down. Actually, now I know why. It's because of that 15 Viagra.
Yeah, don't bring him in with the desk thing, thanks. So anyway, we were talking about something which didn't need to be edited, and I think the highlight of last night would have been a fire drill. In hindsight, I mean, it was absolutely shocking. Spurs didn't play anything remotely resembling football. Chelsea were there for the taking. I absolutely believe that. And who have Chelsea got next? I bet you they lose. Southampton must be licking their lips.
Well, Southampton were named as the worst ever Premiership team on the TalkSport this morning. I think they got like 10 points. But it wouldn't surprise you if they turned up and etched out a 2-1 victory or something, would it?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I put Southampton with all the pressure that will be on the players by now. I would put Southampton right in there for a Desmond Tutu.
In fact, George Ware's cousin could play against this current Tottenham team and probably get better.
And a lift home from a hot bird.
Yeah,
We've still got. Unfortunately, even on Facebook this morning, we've still got people going, oh, but we need to stick with it because we don't want to go through this endless cycle of rinse and repeat on managers. And I just went back, 16 losses in a season is all you need to know. End of story.
As I've said before, that one of the problems we've got with these morons, let's have it right, is that they will support the unsupportable. And they make it a binary question. And it isn't a binary question. Ange is shite, so he has to be removed from the field of play. Well, who are you replacing me? That's a separate question. Right now, I'd bring in Ryan, what's his name? Because we know he's poor, but I'm not sure he's actually this bad.
I'll take Ryan Reynolds at this stage. Fucking hell.
Get your shoes on, son. But no, I mean, the reality is that Mason would come in, and to date, his points per game rate is superior to that of Ange's. This isn't a conversation starter. This is me telling you that, if you put raw fish in your mouth, you probably won't enjoy it.
How about something really controversial? If we've got 9 games left and we don't want this fat twat to take us further down the drain, why don't we go out there and get Defoe and say to him, come back to the club.
Well, there's nothing controversial about that, Chris. It makes good sense to me.
Yeah. See what you can do. Let's give you a potential break, because he knows the game. He's played at the top level. He's a Tottenham boy, and he's better than this buffoon every day of the week.
I think that'd be a sensible suggestion. We suggested that, I think, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, virtually, after he'd been on ITV, and we were all wowed with the way he conducted himself. He's got a proper CV. But we just need to, it's almost like a secondary thing. And this isn't, oh, you're so angry, you just want to sack him and not have a backup plan. Well, at the moment, the backup plan is that you put the fire out. You don't say to the fireman, look, careful where the water goes, because I'm not sure if we've got insurance, or if I can actually just go out and buy another sofa. You need to put the fire out, or the building will be razed to the ground. That's your immediate issue that you've got. So until people can get their head around that, which I think is a very straightforward analogy or metaphor, whatever you want, then we're in for a hell of a long drip, drip, drip of hell until the end of the season.
We'll take your analogy of the fireman there, H. Ange is the equivalent of an arsonist standing outside watching his building on fire and going, who the fuck did that?
Yeah.
It's the lack of self-awareness, the lack of any sort of awareness.
But as you said, that whole business with the whole business with the VAR and the soon they'll have AI and all the rest of it. Suddenly he goes from a guy who I don't talk about that to I can't stop talking about it. Yeah, and he then we go down this route of whereby that he all the blame is and all the deflection he is. I mean, there must be a psychology class somewhere where they're using him as an example of a man crumbling before the public's eyes, because he is just textbook, making it up as he go along and coping as he goes along. And the guy said to him about the cupping of the ear, which clearly was a provocative thing, you know, because you only do that when you've got a crowd behind you. So like a football will score and go like that, and all the fans go, yeah, that's all right, you showed them, there's no more people booing or jeering you. This guy, he was constantly hearing these grumbling over his inept substitutions. And then he says in the press conference, oh, Struth, and he's rubbing his face because he wants to hide. And his body language.
Came out with the bullshit. I wanted them to cheer the goal.
Say what?
The bullshit of I wanted them to cheer the goal.
Yeah, and he said, but he said, I'm so disconnected from life. And I thought, yeah, you are, because the plug out of the life support machine has been yanked, and you can feel the wheels of your bed moving you out the door.
I would personally be very concerned when I hear that. When I saw that, I was actually concerned, because if anybody, you know, as somebody who's in my employment, I'm a mental health first aider. If I heard someone saying that, I'd be immediately thinking this person's in trouble.
They're at risk.
They're at risk. Yeah, there's a potential risk there, and I need to keep an eye on them. And for him to say that, I think, regardless of his performances, somebody in the club has got to be going to him today and saying, "Look, Ange, you know, how are you? How are you really doing today, mate? I know things are going shit. I know there's loads of criticism. I know you're feeling the pressure. I get all of that. But as a human being, and nobody wants anybody to do anything stupid or anything that's permanent. That's, you know, the old sort of phrase, a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Nobody wants that. But if I hear that, I'm really worried about somebody. And if the club has got any integrity about it at all, somebody will be dealing with that.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I called that many weeks ago, and I made crass remarks which weren't probably helpful in the scheme of things. But I had identified in his language and his demeanour that not all was well at Chateau Postecoglou, and you could just see from the way that he was reacting to stuff. And we've all had different life experiences and seen people get squeezed by life, and it's not great to see. But the reality is, if you're not a complete dummy, you can recognize it in other people. You can see if somebody's uncomfortable. And by uncomfortable, I mean that they're really having trouble just communicating on a very basic level. And the trouble is, this guy, as you said, Chris, he's paid to come out and talk to the press, who, when you're doing well, they'll acknowledge you've done well, but they're more interested in getting a bit of juice into the quotes. Even the Alistair Gold numbnuts who just want to put out this constant stream of, oh, there's decisions to be made and a fascinating challenge ahead of blah. What people want is the cupped ear thing and the crowd booing, and they want the video and they want the hand on the face. That's what people want. It's bread and circuses. I mean, the Romans got it right a long time ago. 100%. They didn't go. They didn't go to the arenas to watch beautiful things. They went to see men ripped in half by wild animals and people kill each other, and that's what the audience wants even today. That's why when we watch an action movie that we love, there's helicopters flying into buildings. You know, but it's all brushed up, so it's not terrorism, so it's actually okay. But it's what people want.
There's three things that come out of this whole situation, and I've spoken about them previously, but Levy has done all this hard work to take the club from what it was when he first arrived, and he's going to undo all of his own hard work, because in the media we're becoming a laughing stock.
Becoming?
Well, yeah,
what do you mean becoming? I mean, I said it a month ago. Paddy Power are using us as a urinal.
Yeah. Next season, we have got a fight on our hands for Premiership football, because if it continues as it has this season, we're in a relegation battle. You lose that Premiership badge on the sleeve, then your football club, the value's slashed overnight. And we've got, and now we know that we're not going to have European football. Guess what? The transfer budget's reduced. So we're going to be scrapping around in free transfers, Bosman deals, and going for Championship players. Well, we've done that and it's not worked. Look how shit our squad is. We haven't got a winger at the club who can beat his fullback. We have got centre forwards who aren't scoring goals. We got an Argentinian who doesn't want to be there. We don't want him there. He'll be gone in the summer. The whole thing's a mess. But what you've just touched on is absolutely right. He's also got a duty of care. We don't like him. He's not our cup of tea. But Ange is a human being, and he's got a duty of care as his boss and manager to protect him. And he's got to make sure that he's looking after his physical and mental well-being. If he allows him to continue to get exposed by the media and something happens bad to him, how does that play out around the reputation of Tottenham within the world media and business?
Well, you see, what will happen, because we live in this twisted dystopian future that's arrived where girls can be boys and all the rest of the nonsense. They'll pin it on somebody that said something nasty on a YouTube channel. And I'm not saying that because we've said nasty things, but they'll say, yeah, but everybody was calling him fat and horrible and being nasty. And that's not where the problem comes from. The problem comes from the guy that hired him. And this is a guy who has dragged somebody screaming and kicking, but somebody who wanted to be there into this high profile role. And it's actually been at the start of their undoing. And I think we've been watching him unravel for months.
Before people start to go on about, there you say, no, you said, like, as I love this phrase, I know it was quoted last bit, the hurty words and all this sort of stuff. But there's a phrase that you've used many times, which I think is very appropriate to this conversation right now, is we can have two separate thoughts in our head. One is the Ange side, the football side, which is Ange's dog shit. He is a fat Australian git from a footballing perspective. But as a human being, do we want him to be harmed? Of course we don't.
No,
absolutely not.
No.
So, we can, if anybody's going out there, oh, you're saying this, you're saying that, but now you're saying this. No, we can have we can hold two thoughts at the same time. But one is not the same as the other.
This is the same thought process. God, this bloody microphone's killing me. This is the same thought process, which as I was saying, is that, so if you want to sack him, who do you want to bring in?
Yeah, 100%.
Stop slurring your words. Those are two very identifiably separate questions. Question number one, is he competent? No. So he has to be shown the door and hopefully given some aftercare. Question number two, who do we get in now? I don't know. And more to the point, I don't care, because he is the worst manager we've had in my memory as a fan, 40 odd plus years as a football fan. And I don't care. You have to make it stop. It's like you're listening to the music that they play in Guantanamo Bay, the purple dinosaur music or whatever they were doing with like thrash metal thrown in. Well, if we're going to stop playing that, what do you want us to play? Mate, just switch the bloody tape off. We can put Mantovani or something more soothing on afterwards, but just stop the bloody tape. And that's what we need to do with this guy. We need, as I used the phrase earlier to Chris, we need to press eject on this thing and just make it end. Don't worry about what we're going to do next, because what we've got at the moment isn't working. And it's also, as we've now saying, in a more rounded, humane way, it's also smashing him to pieces.
And if there's this, apparently this thought process is, that we've heard time and time again from inside the camp is about, they want to stick with Ange, and we're going to at least sort what happens in our European adventures. Yeah, that's kind of which ridiculous. Didn't have a problem sacking Mourinho a week before an actual bloody final, did he?
No. Well, that's because this is a lie. They don't give a damn about the Europa. It's not worth much money, but it stops the clock being started on the Levy witch hunt. And we know who likes to look after himself and protect himself and always makes bad decisions. And he's appalling at change management. It's something that they just simply don't do at ENIC, because they take a very Joseph Stalin approach to problems. Remove the man, remove the problem. And that's why the turnover is so high.
There's two concepts that are vital to any business continuing, business resilience and continuity planning. And I don't think either of those are something known to ENIC as an organisation, because we're just so slow to react, and any credible, serious organisation acts quickly. And we'll continue with this guy and it's only going to get a lot more worse. Like, there are people still deluded enough out there to think that we stand a chance of beating Eintracht Frankfurt over 2 games. Do we? Heck, all they need to do is turn up 11 men on the pitch, and the game's theirs.
But you see, the other thing as well is that when you see, there's a phrase used in by certain grown-ups in life called wargaming a situation out. So if you are where you are and you're thinking, so where can this go? And you have to go through all the different permutations. And the fear that I have, having wargamed our situation out, is that we're in a position which is deeply unpalatable that we could be playing in the Championship. Is Dominic Solanke going to dig us out of trouble? Is Richarlison going to dig us out of trouble? Are we going to be able to convert them into a player that can dig us out of trouble by selling them? No, because they don't have any value.
And do you know
all of these, and I'm going to use the phrase because I like to be grossly offensive as frequently as I can on this thing, but all of the Nancy boys that are backing these empty boxes of players, these players that have never done anything, never ever going to do anything, they won't be around. They'll be busy that day when we're really up against it and we're looking at our men and seeing that they haven't got a drop of testosterone between them. That's what we're going to be left with. But we paid £60 million for him. Yeah. And we told you at the time it was a bloody stupid idea and you shouldn't have done it. And now we're in trouble and you're trying to ask for a return on your investment and it isn't there to be found. It doesn't exist. You're on mute, Tony.
Tony, if you're going to not point the finger, come off mute. I want to hear this.
Yeah, go on. I was start pointy.
I was going to do it in sign language.
Does it conclude with some...
Yeah, concludes with that. Sort of. The thing is, but you rightly said it about change management and about accountability. If he gets rid of Ange, he has to get rid of Lang, and he has to get rid of all these other people because they're not. Yeah. Because the whole lot has to go. Because they're all invested. They all backed Ange. They all invested in him. So if Ange goes, they all have to go. It's as simple as that.
It was like when we got rid of Conte and put Christian Stellini in as his replacement. So the players had 38 games of the manager with him as their number 2 in the changing room, standing immediately to the side of him.
I thought that was Conte with the Stellini. I thought that was Conte with the Stellini mask on.
Load of nonsense and stupidity is that.
It was like one of those bank raid films where they put the Jimmy Carter mask on. It just Stellini. I thought that was Conte. I genuinely did. I didn't realise. I thought it was a bloke on the mask.
I don't know about Jimmy Carter mask and bank raids. It's more like the villain in Scooby Doo.
Yeah, who's going to unmask? Who's in the fat Ange fat suit? That's what we want to know.
Putting off the mask, Mr. Conte.
I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for your pesky kids.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Again, getting rid of Ange at this moment in time, bringing somebody else through the door.
It would be what a good vet would do. A decent vet.
You could potentially get that new manager bounce right before that Eintracht Frankfurt. If you were to have been bold and been quick and brought somebody in, you could say you've got a bit of a give me against Southampton. Most people are expected to win against that side. So then you've got the big game on Thursday. If the players are invigorated because there's a new a face on the training pitch.
Invigorized.
Yeah, invigorated, invigorized, whatever. Yeah.
I think whatever words you use in your language, whatevs.
Another crispyism that goes out there for all to see. Brilliant stuff, mate. What you said earlier, Chris, I think they need. I think they need some more of those little blue pills, don't they? That Age has been taking. So
cystatin, as he said, they're called.
Just as 90s day.
Yeah. Can you imagine them going onto the field having taken all those blue pills? Oh, well, you see, he saved on the line from his erection.
Yes, it wouldn't be the first penis we've had in goal this season, anyway.
Look, again, go back to you talk about Vicario. He made one world-class save last night. Yeah. Brilliant save, absolutely world-class save. But everything else he did was just dog shit, absolute dog shit. And the thing is now, we have got to the stage within this club with the way that Ange and his backroom staff have done. There isn't a single player, and that is from top to bottom, from the 11 to the bench to the squad beneath that, playing with any sort of confidence. Even our crown jewel, our shining star, Mickey van der Ven. I know he's only just come back from injury, so it's going to take a little bit of time, like you said. I agree with that. But even he last night looked like cubic zirconia as opposed to a diamond. It's just horrible.
I'll ask you a question, Tony. If Mickey van der Ven didn't have his pace and had the pace of Ben Davies, would he still be a good player?
Oh, that's unfair, because that's like saying if a Ferrari had a Trabant engine in it. I mean, it makes it different.
How good a defender is Mickey van der Ven?
I think he's actually. No, I'll answer that question. I'll answer the question. Yes, is the answer, because he has positional awareness.
Yeah.
Positional awareness. A bloke between Romero for a free header.
Yeah, this is the thing. Is last night everybody was at fault because we were just a shower of shit, and because we had no plan, and that's just been endemic from that.
The other one I feel sorry for is Kinski, who we brought in January because we were told he had such good beat and ball ability. Yet we've never played him since. And going back to when I first started watching Tottenham, we had Eric Torsvedt in goal. Then we had your Neil Sullivans. You had Casey Keller, who was half reasonable, didn't let anybody down. You had Brad Friedel, who came in under Redknapp, was a really good goalkeeper. Then we had that long period of Hugo Lloris, not everybody's cup of tea, but he was generally a good goalkeeper. But you look at the keepers at the club now, and they're all rubbish. They're all cheap.
You take that even further down the picking order, Chris. If you're Brandon Austin, you'd be thinking, "What the fuck have I got to do to get a game?"
4 games, never let us down, and now he's been sent out to the Bermuda Triangle.
What we were talking about last week. We were talking about those guys who scored in the games. You know, like the Scarlett and Ajay and what have you. Do actually do what's asked of them, look good, and then get ceremonially dumped.
Yeah,
but I think there's a story in the background there, and we've heard hints and insinuendos towards. That's actually a quote from Sexy Beast, but because I was playing it along with the Chris B dictionary, but there's been mumbles about the way that Ange is treating these lads. And there's one guy that deleted his goal, his first goal for the club.
That was Mikey Moore, wasn't it?
Yeah, from his Instagram account. So I don't think we're entirely barking up the tree here. You know,
others.
Was that Chris?
Talking to a friend last week who was at the Leighton Orient game the week before last, and he got talking to Donnelly's agent, who told him that Mikey Moore's agents doing everything he can to link him and find potential suitors for him in the summer.
That is just such.
If Arsenal thought, we like this kid, he's got something, all the hype about him previously. You imagine if he walked out of Tottenham into Arsenal, then went on to be Lionel Messi-esque, and ended up winning 6 or 7 titles. We'd only have ourselves to blame.
You mentioned Arsenal. They have no problem with putting an 18-year-old in, Lewis Skelly. They have no problem with that. I know he's a great player, and no question about that. But Mikey Moore has never been given the chance to show how good a player he actually is. Same with Dane Scarlett, and a few of these other guys. They have never been given it because he'd rather play Timo Werner, he'd rather play Mathis Tell, he'd rather play Ben Davies, he'd rather play Bissouma, and please. Don't anybody fucking tell me that Ange knows how to develop players, because he can't even fucking get a tune out of the players he's got.
And do you know what I was really upset about during the week? The audacity of Arsenal to actually go live and say we're going to have a massive summer this summer. You've got Arteta as a result of the new sporting director, the Italian guy coming through the door, saying we are going to have a big summer this summer, and actually going to press him saying that. Yeah. What do we advertise? We've got a new lubricant, Castrol's coming through the door. Up to your aches and creaks.
That's enough about H's sex life.
I can say now Tony and I are going to lose our research and development money we were given. I mean, these are just words, but these are the hurtiest words of all if they're going to cost us, So,
well,
What do you think awaits us? I think it's a slow. This microphone is killing me. I think it's a slow, inevitable demise, and it's just a pity we can't get relegated. In my
Death
book.
by 1,000 cuts springs to mind.
Yeah,
that's the way I see it. Death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah,
no relation.
Look, they should have sacked him last night. We're now 25 minutes past 10. They should have sacked him this morning. They're not going to sack him. They've got no interest in doing it. But I hope that they learn the hard way, and their shortcomings and their poor decisions. I tell you what, being a fly on the wall in that Tottenham boardroom would be as interesting as anything, because you would realise there are so many highly paid buffoons delivering the square root of absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Who is nobody? It must be a Daniel Levy board meeting. Must be like a North Korean.
Oh, you beat me to it. I was gonna throw it.
You've got Kim Jong-un proposing something, and everybody's there sitting there. Oh, very good, sir. Yes, very good. I wish I'd thought that.
We're gonna launch tomato soup flavored ice cream. Oh, brilliant idea!
Brilliant.
Well done. Well, excellent.
I've thought about that. Yeah,
I'd have that.
Yes, but then we know enough about you to have presumed that.
but as Sheldon Cooper said in The Big Bang Theory, I'm not crazy. I've been tested.
Yeah, my mother had me tested.
It's you know, and the thing is now, next game is Southampton, isn't it? Yeah. So we go and beat Southampton. You know, I know we said, you know, if we go and beat Southampton 5-0, everyone's going, well, everybody. Fellas, it's Southampton.
What's with all the long faces?
Exactly. Fellas, it's Southampton, the worst team possibly ever to come into the Premier League. End of story. I rest my case. Please don't use that as a marker for actually things aren't as bad as they seem, because things are not as bad as they seem. They're worse.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the best that we could hope for is that the lunacy that we've discussed earlier, the takeover TV routine of going back to basics, flat caps, Bovril, alcohol, cigarette abuse, all that sort of thing. That's the light at the end of the tunnel at the moment.
The only thing that was worse last night, than our football was Cole Palmer's haircut.
I thought it was a hat. Thought it was a hat.
No, you get paid. No, sorry. I rephrase that. There's two things. I'm going to sound like the Spanish Inquisition here after a while. There's the Cole Palmer's haircut and our inability to actually beat the first defender at a corner.
I was going to say, surely James Maddison's free kicks are up there.
Oh yeah, and he was doing his air traffic controller thing, wasn't he? On a you know, one of these big what fucking hell? You know, there's one where the planes come down.
An aircraft
carriers. Aircraft carriers. You know, when they do all that thing on there like that. He was doing all that again last night, and it's just like
he was doing the insinuendos, was he?
Oh fuck me! Just fuck off, Maddison. You know, and there's a reason why you're not anywhere near the England football team, mate. It's because you're playing like dog shit. So you know, concentrate on playing football. You know, do that thing you're paid to do, and then you might actually have a chance. But honestly, Cole Palmer thing, flippant, but it was a laugh. But even my wife said to me last night, these guys are paid hundreds of thousands of pounds per week, and they can't even get the corner to beat the first defender.
No. I don't think. I wouldn't kind of justify the extent of Postecoglou's reign by using language as that he's lost the dressing room. I don't think he ever knew where it was. And I think just gradually over time, these players are just being left to their own devices. And that's what we're seeing. Because the idea that you can't beat the first man on a corner, this is basic stuff. I mean, it's the sort of stuff, for example, without being unkind to him either, but you see Harry Redknapp wandering around on the training beach. You go, "Oi, what the fuck are you doing there? Kick it up. It's got to come over here." You know, and that's basic, you know.
I'd actually take Harry Redknapp on that training pitch doing that exact thing at this moment.
100% right now. Take it. Give him the money. You know, what is it? one of the best things I ever heard him say, because I went to see like one of these evenings with him, sort of thing. He said, he was talking about one player, I can't remember who it was. He said, just go out there and run around a bit. And you know something? That would still be better advice than what Ange is doing right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So looking at the rest of the season, Southampton on Sunday, well, anything's possible. We should win it. But
We should win that. We should win that.
Aliens might attack on Sunday morning and it might never happen. Then Frankfurt next
2-2 that game if you're going past the bookmakers, folks. 2-2 that'll be the final score.
Frankfurt on Thursday, a club close to both. Hey, I saw some good news for you both yesterday. Porsche re-entering the tank business. They're starting to make tanks again.
I can't possibly comment on that without doing illegal hand movements and mentioning Buenos Aires.
And people like your impressions. So I think we need the custom impressions.
They're coming back, baby.
Excuse me, Chris. I'm just checking the date to make sure it's not April the 1st. You know,
Porsche making tanks.
Yeah,
I might learn to drive.
Yeah, it'll be like they'll probably advertise it with Carly. You know, probably the best tank in the world. You know.
I'm sure that'll be the official tank supplier to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club before long.
Yeah. That'll probably be the next thing they'll be saying you can do, apart from having from electric carts and the NFL is, you can go on driving a tank experience with Porsche. You know, that'll be the next bloody thing they'll do, won't they? Because they seem to be doing everything else but actually running a football club.
A lot of nervous listeners in Poland at the moment.
Poland everywhere, mate.
Reunion with Nuno at Forest. That'll end terribly. Then we get to pants down at the Bin Dippers, so the Scousers will see us off. Then we've got another London derby at West Ham.
That is going to be. I mean, I won't do that match of the Opus Dei joke again, but us going to Liverpool, that's going to be horrible.
That's going to be like
London derby. What could go wrong with that one?
Oh, nothing. Nothing
goes wrong.
Money in the bank. Money in the bank.
And then we're up to your neck of the woods, H. We're in Villa, so we can all come past Shez H and
Tropical Island in
experience the table ride ourselves.
Make sure if you do come to Birmingham, you've got your tonic with you because honestly, it's like an after party in the centre of Bradford City at the moment.
So salam alaikum. That's what I'm going to say, mate. When I get up there, salam alaikum.
Then we conclude the season with Brighton. So nice day by the coast, and then we've got the excitement of flying out to South Korea to play at London neighbours Arsenal on the 31st of July. Brilliant stuff.
I thought I was particularly impressed with that initiative by the club because it went down so well with supporters. I didn't see a single comment that was poking fun at it or mentioning climate change or carbon footprints or whatever. Everybody was fully behind the initiative and welcomed Daniel for putting such a strident deal together for our enjoyment.
I think I must have slipped into an alternative universe where you started to actually make sense. Honestly, and we all know why. We don't have to. It doesn't take anybody with more than two brain cells to have to work out why that's come about. And yet again, we can't help just every step, Levy. To quote the old police song, every step you take, every breath you take, I'll be watching you. Well, fuck off. We don't want to watch you anymore. We're sick of watching this fucking club. Just go away.
There must be. I don't know what it will take. I mean, it's curious because I understand how the world works, and it's a private company. We live in the Western world, so you can't just do the Joseph Stalin thing and remove the problem, which ENIC have curiously done for 25 years now. But there must be some way of getting the message across, and maybe it's these Change for Tottenham guys. I don't know, but anybody who wants to say it's time for the regime to pack up and kind of almost make it like a moral or an ethical issue and say to them, look, you've had your money, you've had your fun, and we'd like to let somebody else on the ride now. Because I think they've ridden us into the absolute floorboards. And that sounds like a plea for help. Actually, I can hear the tone in my voice.
It's a cry for help, mate. More than anything else.
They need to make it stop, and they need to let somebody else have a go, because it just simply isn't fair anymore. We've got to, as we've said, we've got to this situation whereby we can't get relegated because of the sandbags beneath us. But then next season, really?
Tell you what,
and I wonder. I mean, this is a terrifying thing to suggest, and possibly the most offensive thing that will be said on this podcast, which is really going some. But would it be conceivable that they would roll the dice again with Ange and do that famous thing that bad people in business have formed for doing, which is doubling down on a really, really pants idea?
No, when
I don't think it's impossible.
No, when you've played Russian roulette, there's 6 bullets to the gun, and 5 previous attempts have all been blanks. Look what happens when you pull the trigger on the 6th occasion.
You end up joining the Reform Party, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm not being funny. I'm not being funny, mate. But if Ange was to play that Russian roulette thing, even if it was to actually go off, it'd still miss his brain by 6 feet, wouldn't it? Bloody hell!
Well, that Tony, you're dealing with an expert here. That's not the 9 o'clock news joke.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Nice video, shame about the song.
That's it.
Yeah, don't worry, mate. I'm an expert on that as well. Don't you worry about that.
Is that stereo? Is it, Grandad?
It's the supposed more superior brain of Levy that we need to get in and dissect, because the man is not the businessman we give him all credit for. He's got lucky along the way. He's now been found out. He's in the last chance saloon. If he is prepared to piss up everything he's done and to run the risk of relegation, then he's an absolute idiot, isn't he?
Well, look at you. You say that, Chris, and you're absolutely right. Everything we're saying is absolutely right. But the thing is, think about it, and what you said there, H, about next season, right? Think of it this way: given the state we're in right now, and we've been in the state for a long time, but just taking us as we are, as a manager, as a prospective manager, or as a prospective player, who the hell is going to want to come to us? Of any quality that's actually going to enhance us, to make us better. Who is going to want to do that?
Well, and I know that is doing his best in his auditions through losing his last 5 games. I think
it's exactly. And I know that again, we've got this argument, like you said, H, about then we shouldn't sack him then. Yeah, but if the captain of the Titanic has just run into an iceberg, you don't give him another bloody ship. No. It's that simple. It's that simple. So there are 2 separate questions. But and you've said this as well, Chris, when you're talking about brand and about the damage that you do to your brand, the damage is being done to the brand, but its damage has also been done to the football club to such a degree that nobody of any quality wants to be here.
You're now moving into reputational management, and you're trying to retrieve a tarnished reputation.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, this is the other line as well that I use with guys on a daily basis. It's about selling people empty boxes, and you can only pull that stunt for so long, which is why stores that have been around forever, say, for example, Harrods, whether you love them or hate them, I don't care. You're not listening. I'm talking about they've been around forever, selling the highest quality that one would hope to expect to find in an outfit like that. But the guys who sell empty boxes on the streets, on the corner of the street, on a market, they're never there next week. And if you look at the comments that are coming through from fans with season tickets, so I know people like to have voices, opinions qualified. So people who put their money up, like you do, Chris. But season ticket, these are real football fans, and they're saying, "I've had enough. I'm not renewing." And that's part of that broader selling empty boxes conversation, whereby you then go to the game that you get your tickets for, your missus buys you a ticket for your birthday or whatever, or you go with your pals, and you say, Christ, the atmosphere is horrible. And you look around and you're full of tourists and day trippers. And the traditional football fan, and we were making jokes about the Bovril and all the rest of it earlier, but they're increasingly not showing up anymore. And that is the candle is smouldering from both ends. That's the situation that this moron has created.
What really pisses me off is when I'm at the football and people leave at the 30-minute point to go and get their half-time beverage and snack or they are late back for the start of the second half, or they're late for the first half because they are tucking into beers in the belly of the stadium. You've come to watch the fucking football. Watch the football. If you want to suck beer and suck on Frankfurters, then off you pop to one of the bars outside.
Here's an antidote to that. Give them football they actually want to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's part and parcel. Like I say, it's the candle being smouldering away at both ends. So you've got the absolute foolishness of the owner, and then you've got, like I say, this business with people going there. And I mean, it drives me out of my mind. I mean, I stopped going to the movies many years ago, and I don't know if you've ever been. I mean, there were going to be 12-year-olds listening to this, thinking, "I knew this guy was off his head." But you go to the movies, and I went. I tell you what, I went with the ex to a thing in, where was it, in Leeds? Brand new place, amazing. Sit down in the chairs like a chaise lounge, velvet, and all this. And I said, what the hell is this? And she goes, "Oh, you can order food." And she shows me on her phone, there's an app. And I said, "You're what?" And I froze. My blood ran cold. And I said, "Are you telling me that the bloke next to me that I will be able to hear could have a bowl of nachos landing in his lap any minute?" I mean, I came here to watch the James Bond film. I didn't come here to listen to people masticating. I mean, that's the most vile thing imaginable. I mean, if I go to a rock concert these days, I will have a beer. But when I was younger, I was young and naive and foolish. And what I wanted to do was to hoover up the experience. And I didn't drink.
So you were young, dumb, and full of cum, were you, H?
Well, that's an unkind phrase. And I think it doesn't reflect well on you for using it. But thanks for joining us anyway at this late stage. But no, I'm just saying, what was your purpose of leaving the house? I'm going to go and watch Spurs. Oh, right. Well, I better have 12 pints then before I get there. Or I want to have a pizza. I want to have a pizza.
You need to be anaesthetised, don't you?
Yeah,
you have to be anaesthetised to go, don't you? That's the whole point.
The biggest gaffe in the modern business world was undoubtedly Gerald Ratner, wasn't it? Yeah. His business was gone as a result of those few words.
But take a sandwich from Tesco's was better value than his $9.99 best-selling earrings or something.
Yeah. But in a roundabout way, Levy's doing exactly the same. He is destroying the brand. He's making it a laughing stock. The fact that, as we've said, Paddy Power freely used Tottenham as its greatest advertising tool. Yeah. The stadium is synonymous with everything but football. We talk about Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn Jr. on the 26th. We talk about Lady Gaga. We talk about the Paris Boulangerie. When was the last time we spoke about on-field success?
Oh, Paris baguette, the good old Paris baguette. I do love Paris baguette. Other baguettes are freely available,
and they all have less sugar in them.
When you try the Paris baguette, you don't know what you're missing out on.
I mean, if you consider that Paris has been on fire for the last 20 years, the fact that the Paris baguette contains more additives than a slush puppy.
So did you have any nice baguettes in Amsterdam, Tony?
What goes on stag stays on stag. You know that, Chris. Come on, you know that's there's a code of honor there. There's a code of honor there, mate.
I heard he was striped up in an Ajax outfit at one point.
I have to say, on reflection, turning up to the Ajax Stadium to do a stadium tour in your Spurs top probably wasn't the best move of the day.
Essex man on tour there, I think.
Honestly, some of the conversations I had with people, they really do not like Spurs for obvious reasons. Oh yeah, it was. I was talking to some guy, and I had this top on over the top of it, and I took it off because I was getting a bit hot. And as soon as he saw I had a Spurs shirt on, he said, "Thank you very much." He just turned and walked away. Literally. Turned off the conversation and walked away.
Wow. It's the Levy effect all over the globe.
Yeah, and then from my perspective, going around that you saw all the pictures and stuff. Going around that trophy room and actually seeing a proper trophy room.
What was that blonde in the trophy room?
Yeah, she was obviously in danger of catching the cold.
Yeah, I mean that must be very centrally heated.
I couldn't possibly comment. I saw a great meme this morning on Facebook. And it was a
subject.
Yeah, yeah. Let's change the subject. Let's do an Ange-like deflection, shall we? And it was a sausage, it was a Mars bar, and it was a bit of fish, and then Spurs, and it says things that get battered.
Oh my Lord! Yeah,
you know, that's based on what you said there, Chris. That is how that is an example of how far we have fallen, how far we are not even perceived as a serious club anymore. We are perceived as a joke in world football and amongst other fandom. And we're now at the stage now, you can't defend it. You know, you used to sort of have a bit of banter with other clubs because you'd say this and you say that. We have got nothing to banter with anymore. We are bankrupt of banter.
We've all become completely aware of what we are, a mouthpiece for an investment vehicle. They couldn't care about us. They're not interested on pitch success. Yet we're the mugs, well, I am specifically, who keeps on funding their lifestyle by going weekly and paying all these monies. I should know better.
But they don't want you there. They'd prefer if they could replace you with a tourist, because your spend per capita, or whatever they call it, your bag would be fuller, your tummy would be fuller, and you'd drop more cash while you were there. They don't want you there.
There's no place for white heterosexual sexual tyrannosauruses in the Tottenham Stadium. Is that what you're telling me?
You're an endangered, dangerous species.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And on that bombshell, we've gone over the hour mark, but we've got enough material to fill all the stuff I'm going to edit out so I can act a normal life. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Anyway, gotta go.
You coward.
That's it for now. Good luck, and don't forget, folks, keep it Tottenham.